What is learning? Learning is defined as the process by which experience and practice result in a stable change in a learner's behavior that is not explained simply by maturation, growth, or aging. Learning is the process of going from not knowing to knowing and then being able to use it. We as teachers can infer that learning has occurred by observing the performance and behavior of the learner. Teachers must use caution when making assumptions that a child has learned something, since this is only an inference. Much of what we'll further discuss in this presentation relates to both learning in the school, community, and home environment. It is especially important to remember that when working with students with disabilities, a teacher must not assume that a child has learned something and then just move right on to the next concept. Students need a strong foundation of concepts, skills, and understanding in order to master the content and build upon it. Students with disabilities benefit from help in paying attention and how to make a conscious effort to ensure that they move through each stage of learning. The 5 stages of learning are acquisition, proficiency, maintenance, generalization, and adaptation. The first stage of learning is acquisition. Acquisition is moving the learner from no skill to basic mastery or no skill to 85% mastery level. It's best to make learning meaningful rather than just making it simple. Students will benefit from actual experience and involvement with a content or skill. It's best to use explicit instruction during this stage since it ensures that the student gets the most useful information. What is reversion? Reversion is a critical substage of acquisition in which the learner responds correctly enough of the time, meaning more than 50%, to indicate some level of mastery, but they're still erratic in their accuracy of the response. The goal here is to focus on beginning skills and work on practicing to achieve the desired accuracy level so they build it up. The biggest danger in this case is to let a student continue practicing without being monitored by the teacher. The second stage of learning is proficiency. Once a firm understanding or mastery of a skill has taken place, the learner enters the proficiency stage. In this stage, the main goals are to develop automatic ability and fluency within the skill, and once something becomes automatic, there's less cognitive capacity that's required to use it. Then more cognitive ability can be used for higher level thinking opportunities. The third stage of learning is maintenance. Maintenance means to maintain a high level of performance over time after the reinforcement associated with the instruction ends. Maintenance is necessary if future learning is to build on those skills that have already been learned. Think of maintenance as the use it or lose it concept. No matter how strongly it appears a student has learned a concept, if they do not practice or use it, they will lose the ability to perform it. The fourth stage of learning is generalization. The goal of generalization is to extend the use of acquired skills across situations, behaviors, setting, and time. The goal for the learner is to recognize a different stimulus as a prompt to apply a learned skill. For example, if a child learns addition in her math class, she should be able to use those skills when she goes into a store to buy a few items. For students with disabilities, the problem is that they often fail to see how skills learned in one setting can be transferred to another. So they might also learn the same math skill but fail to use it in another setting, such as in a store, because they're not being prompted to do so. The fifth and final stage of learning is adaptation. This is when a student is able to apply a learned skill in a modified way to a new task without help or prompts. The learner must be able to modify the manner of performance to meet the new demands. The student is also firm enough in what he or she has learned to be able to see how it can be modified to match a new situation. When a student has cognitive processing deficits, it affects their academic performance in many ways. The 3 areas that most affect the success rate of a student are their attention, memory, and executive functioning skills. We know that learning cannot occur unless a student is able to focus on the relevant details in the environment. Some of the main problems with students with disabilities is that they have difficulty in selective attention functions. They also have difficulty scanning incoming stimuli and are more likely to be distracted by what is going on around them. They may also lack the cognitive capacity to sort information for relevancy in an efficient manner. There are a few helpful strategies that students with learning disabilities may benefit from. First, the classroom teacher could coach the student in order to develop selective attention strategies. The teacher could also teach organizational strategies to the students, such as grouping or clustering. We don't want our students to become dependent on cues from others or prompts, resulting in passivity, learned helplessness, and frustration. Therefore, teachers should help students develop ways to monitor their own performance and enhance their intrinsic motivation and performance in the classroom.